I'm going to hopefully answer some questions about how one would go about working from the field, an on the spot piece, to a finished piece in the studio. And I want to just mention that this is my way of doing it. It's only one way. There are a myriad of approaches to take. Most of my friends, my fellow painters, work in a similar manner. They'll have a little bit different take on one stage or another, but by and large, this has worked very well for me over the years. And so I'd like to share it with you. First of all, here is the subject. And let me preface this by saying this was during a workshop that we were doing. And so this particular piece is a demo. It worked out, so I went ahead and took it back to the studio and worked it up larger. At any rate, this was a subject, and I had scouted it out over a couple previous days, and I knew if we were at this location in the morning, it was going to give us some really good material for any number of ways to approach it. But I really like the abstractness of the hold on a second here. I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. Okay, the abstractness of the reflections in the water. And so what attracted me, and as I explained to the students in the group, was pretty much this part of the subject. And along with, you have plenty of material over in here to mix and match, edit, make it say what you wanted. I really like these reflections down here in the water. So I went ahead and this was a color workshop. So I know I've been telling all of you, you don't need to do this outdoors. You don't need to restrict your palette. But since this was a color workshop, I proceeded to show them how this could work. And in this particular case, I was working with a 3-4-5 triad. And I planned it out with a green, a violet, and a red-orange. And in this particular case, I chose to mix my green with an ultramarine blue and a cad yellow lemon. I mix my red-orange with by using cad orange and dioxazine purple violet, and then my violet is diox violet. So there's some pretty potent colors here, but I needed those for the grays that this piece was going to require. And at this stage, it was really an experiment. I was hoping it would work. Here's a thumbnail of here's my pointer thing. My thumbnail, and I was establishing the basic elements that I needed for this sketch, this on the spot piece. We can go back here and look at the subject again. Here's the subject we're working with, and I'd pointed out the things that had attracted me to this particular subject, to the group. So pretty much this area in here. You can see how I edited. I pushed the horizon line or the shoreline way up towards the top, and the embankment up here. I cropped those trees out in the background so that they're just a dark pattern across the top of the painting. And the main subject is really the reflections in the foreground, leading into the foreground. That was my concept. That was what this painting was all about. We have to have a good solid concept we can go with. So from there, now I didn't really work this palette out. This was one I did back in the studio, but just to show you how because of the study that I had, the on-the-spot piece, I knew this was going to work. But here you can see, here's my dioxazine and cad orange, and you can see what it gives us is like a burnt sienna, except it has a whole different quality from a burnt sienna. It gives us a lot more options. It has more chroma kind of underneath, and more vitality to that burnt sienna looking thing I mixed. So this was basically the palette for the painting that the on the spot piece, and to my way of thinking, it was successful. So up here you can see I experimented with a cad orange and a mauve blue shade. It didn't give me quite the combinations in here that I was looking for. It just didn't quite have the oomph, if you will, that I felt I needed, so I discarded that one. Over here you can see I was mixing some of my high key. There's not a big structure to this particular color board because I pretty much knew what it was going to do already. And here was another experiment with dioxazine violet and sap green, and I just wanted to see what that would give me, and pretty much discarded that one also. So that was a no-go. This one up here was a no-go. So I stuck with my original plan, and here's the on-the-spot piece, and you can see it's fairly rough. I don't push to a high degree of finish. I'm going looking for the notes I need, the color, the value, the information that I feel like is really necessary for this. So I can go into the field, for me, unencumbered with the feeling of getting, or the responsibility for getting a so-called finished piece. If a more finished piece happens, then I'm happy with that. But I don't go out there striving for a piece that's going to end up on the gallery wall. So I learned a long time ago to take that monkey off my back. Here we go with, this is in the studio now. And this was my studio thumbnail. This is what I refer to as a thumbnail. And this one is an 18 by 14 inch vine charcoal drawing on good Bainbridge paper. So you can see here how I really start working things out. I work out compositionally. I'm looking for just how am I going to divide this line, this horizontal in this vertical format. How much of this hill do I want to include? This little slope that drops into the pond, the lake, and how much description now? What's the spacing going to be like across this top with this dark pattern? How do I want to space that? How do I want to pull these sunlit stripes down into the composition? You can see over here, I'm looking for interesting patterns that drop into the foreground. And this is really a foreground painting. So you can see the emphasis here is on the reflections in the water and what they are doing. You can see I'm really keenly interested in this effect and how it tapers off. How does this kind of a shimmer, what does it do within this big dark shape in here? I'm looking for that kind of information. And the beauty of vine charcoal on paper like this is you can almost blow it off. It's very malleable. You can get good strong darks, and if it's in the wrong place, you can take a chamois or even a paper towel and you can wipe it out, and it's back to virtually white paper like here. And if you want to get really in the final stages, as I did here, you can see there were some North American coots on this particular pond, which I took a few pictures of after the fact, way after the fact, because I thought, well, those could be a good addition, and I like the way they kind of carved up the reflection. You can see an indication of one here. There's another. I introduced another indication up in here, and another one kind of coming across the top up here. So those were sharp lines that divided this big overall shape, and that's what I was really looking for compositionally. What can I do? This is an interesting shape in and of itself. How can I add more interest without detracting from the overall shape? And these little water birds gave me the option here of an opportunity, a good subject, good excuse to add further texture to a really dynamic shape. So this is how I work, and so this is my thumbnail. I get it to a point of resolution where I feel like, okay, I can go with this. Then my next stage would be to I needed to work out just exactly how these reflections were going to work, and I wanted to go into this with a confidence, into the big piece with a confidence that I knew this was going to work. So this was a two-color painting. It's lemon, or yellow, and blue-black plus white. I wasn't interested in a broad range of color. I wanted value and texture. I wanted to see what would happen with heavier paint. So this was done to establish that information and the confidence in knowing that I could make this happen in paint. So these are things that I do for myself, just so that going into a large piece, I build layer upon layer of confidence in knowing that everything's where it's supposed to be, and that I'll be able to handle this. I can make the paint speak, or the calligraphy speak the way I want it to. So we can go to the next study, and this was a study. This is 15 by 12, which is now the exact proportion I want to go up with. My final painting is going to be a 40 by 32, so I want to keep the proportions the same. And going from my drawing over here to a more a study, a painted study, I want to make sure now that my color palette's going to work, that my planning that I did here, that's going to translate in paint. You can see I've started to introduce some of the wildlife in here for the texture. You can see I've introduced that. Again, this is a confidence builder for me, that I know this is going to work, so I don't get somewhere into this 40 by 32 canvas and go, oh, holy cow, why did I put that there? I didn't think about that. That is the wrong place. Now I have to scrape out a day's worth of work and come in and move something, some major element. And again, we're going back to the value study. See, looking at these shapes right here, and the direction that they're flowing. You see, they fan out like fingers. They fan out and encompass or embrace this big shape down here. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for compositionally. So you can see how I've worked that up and how that's translated into paint. And at this stage, again, I'm not looking for a finished painting. I'm looking for basically to cover all my bases, all of that I can at this stage, to ensure that the larger piece is going to go smoothly, and any problems that might crop up will be relatively minor, and easily fixable. I just can't afford to waste a lot of time with a major mistake. So going from here, then I go to the finished piece. And this, you can see here that how I really focused in on these reflections in the water and refined them and really made it feel like that shimmer that I was after way back in that on the spot piece. So back here on at this stage, that's what I was looking for. I wanted that to happen. You see, this was really what I was after, along with all this verticality stuff in here, and those natural textures. That's really what I was, what excited me about this location, about the concept. The concept was really about the water. And so you can see I really focused on this. There's a lot of scraping that takes place, of laying the paint down, letting it dry, scraping back into it, dragging some of this back in over the top with a more dry brush, a very delicate, let the brush kind of float across. And in many of these places, you can barely see the bird. It's not important. What's important is what the track that those birds were leaving in that water to break up that big shape. So, and the way I go about transferring now is, here is my drawing, my refined thumbnail. And what I do is I go into Photoshop here and I lay a grid over the top of that. I hope you can see that. Those lines are pretty fine. This is a standard grid that I use, and there are it's divided into fourths vertically, all the way top to bottom, as you can see, and horizontally. You can see the grid pattern right here. So I overlay that grid in Photoshop. Now I have a big monitor that I just put this up on, and then I go to this stage and I grid that drawing up to this stage. You can see we'll put the grid up on here, and you can make this grid any size you want it, and as many divisions as you like. So it's entirely up to you. You can also make the grid any color you like. So there's a lot of range in this. And then on my large piece, I did that same thing. I drew out a grid in charcoal on the canvas, on the white canvas. And then I simply began to transpose these shapes. Basically, it tells me where my lights and darks are located, so that everything stays proportional. Everything goes up in proportion to the study. You can see the same with the intersections down here at the bottom. Go back and forth. You can see how I stayed pretty darn true to my painted study. Whoops, not that one. This one, and this one. And again, going back to the value study, you see how everything stays pretty darn true to it. See there? So that's my process, and the studies are never done with the intent of doing anything. They fulfill their purpose when I can end up at this place here.
Hi, I'm Skip Whitcomb. I'll be conducting a mentoring course on color harmony. In over 40 years of teaching, color seems to be one of the biggest mysteries. We'll be able to spend a year together developing a reliable foundation for making harmonious color decisions. There are certain irrefutable truisms in painting. One is the fewer colors used, the stronger and more harmonious the statement. Economy of color equals clarity of intention. Respected painters, past and present, understood this concept and have employed it in one form or another. We will explore the power of a limited palette, calculating progressive sequences of 3 to 6 colors, referred to as harmonic chords, and explore how to select the best color set to serve our concept. The goal is to give each artist a reliable foundation for making color decisions, for developing personal expressions of color. Hope to see you in the course.